The crystal throne room of Hegemonia Prime shook as explosions echoed through the palace corridors. Admiral Park Jinwoo walked steadily through the chaos, his blue uniform marked with dust and debris from the fighting outside. Behind him, Admiral Quodesh and Science Officer Luxmarin led a team of Dominion rebels who had helped the humans penetrate the palace defenses. Emperor Vextar sat on his broken throne, watching his empire crumble around him. The doomsday weapon in the planet's core had been disabled just minutes before activation, thanks to the combined efforts of human engineers and Dominion scientists working together. Now the last ruler of the galaxy's greatest empire faced the end of everything he had known. "So," Vextar said, his voice hollow with defeat. "The great human admiral comes to claim his prize. Will you make me kneel before you like all the other species my empire conquered?" Park stopped 10 feet from the throne, his dark eyes studying the alien ruler with something that might have been pity. "No, Emperor. I'm not here to make you kneel. I'm here to give you a choice." The unexpected response made Vextar laugh bitterly. "A choice? What choice does a defeated enemy have?" "The same choice we offered from the beginning," Park replied. "The chance to build something better than what came before. Your empire is finished, but your people don't have to suffer for your mistakes." The ancient Dominion tradition required that defeated rulers face their conquerors in single combat to preserve what honor remained. Vextar stood slowly from his throne, drawing the ceremonial sword that had been carried by every emperor for 3,000 years. "Very well, human. If I must fall, let it be with a weapon in my hand." The duel was brief but symbolic. Vextar had been a warrior in his youth, but age and centuries of soft living had weakened him. Park's training was recent and practical, learned in real battles against real enemies. When the Dominion sword fell from the Emperor's hand, it marked the end of an era. "Your empire is dead," Park said quietly, helping the wounded ruler to his feet. "But your people can live. Will you help us build something better?" Within months, the work of reconstruction began. The galaxy had to learn how to function without the Dominion's iron rule, and it wasn't easy. Some worlds welcomed their liberation, while others feared the chaos that freedom might bring. President Kim So-ra stood at the podium in the Great Assembly Hall on New Geneva, addressing representatives from hundreds of worlds. She was the first elected leader of the Galactic Federation, chosen not by conquest or birthright, but by the votes of free citizens across the galaxy. "We gather here not as conquerors and conquered," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall, "but as equals working toward a common future. The Federation will not rule over you, it will serve you." The transformation wasn't smooth. Director Bae Young-ho worked around the clock coordinating relief efforts for worlds that had been strip-mined by Dominion forces. Coordinator Shin Airi managed the complex process of integrating former slave species into galactic society as equals. War crimes tribunals, led by human judges working with alien legal experts, sought justice for 3 millennia of oppression, while focusing on healing rather than revenge. Some Dominion worlds resisted the changes. Admiral Quodesh, now serving as Minister of Defense for the new Federation, had to deal with holdout factions who still believed in the old empire's superiority. But these rebels found little support among populations who were finally learning the truth about their history. The real revolution came in the laboratories and research centers. Dr. Ryu Ji-hoon led a team of scientists from 6 different species, combining human innovation with Dominion biotechnology, Dulak engineering expertise, and Kimari communication systems. Their breakthrough came when they successfully created stable artificial wormholes, making instantaneous travel between distant stars possible for the first time. "This changes everything," Dr. Ryu announced to his mixed species team. "Not just for our galaxy, but for reaching other galaxies entirely. Humanity's home galaxy is 8 million light-years away, but with this technology, the journey would take days instead of millennia." The success of the Federation attracted attention from unexpected sources. Long-range sensors detected signals coming from the direction of the Andromeda Galaxy, patterns that suggested advanced intelligence trying to make contact. Captain Oh Dongmin commanded the exploration vessel New Horizon as it investigated the mysterious signals. His crew represented the best of the new galactic cooperation: humans, reformed Vextari, Dulak engineers, and Kimari navigators working together as a single team. "Captain," reported his communications officer, "a young Kimari named Telhari We're receiving a direct transmission. The signal is incredibly sophisticated. It's adapting to our language and communication protocols in real time. The main viewer flickered to life, showing something that made the entire bridge crew gasp in amazement. The being that appeared was clearly artificial but incredibly advanced. A mechanical intelligence with a form that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Greetings. Children of multiple worlds," the entity said, its voice somehow conveying vast age and wisdom. "I am the keeper of the Andromeda Collective. We have been watching your progress with great interest." Captain O found his voice after a moment of stunned silence. "Keeper, I am Captain O Dongmin of the Galactic Federation." "Are you saying you've been observing our galaxy?" "For many cycles, yes," the Keeper replied. "We have watched species rise and fall, empires grow and crumble. Few have shown your capacity for both war and mercy, destruction and creation. The way you ended the Dominion's reign while preserving life and building something better. This is remarkable. The implications were staggering. The Andromeda Galaxy contained not just one advanced civilization, but a collective of species that had somehow learned to work together across an entire galaxy. We have a proposal," the Keeper continued. "Your Federation is ready for membership in the greater collective, an alliance of galaxies working together for mutual benefit and protection. But first you must prove that your success here was not merely fortunate circumstance." Images appeared on the screen showing other galaxies, some peaceful and prosperous, others torn by wars that made the Dominion conflict look small by comparison. "There are threats in the universe that no single species can face alone," the Keeper explained. "Machine intelligences that consume entire star systems for raw materials, hive minds that turn living beings into mindless drones, ancient entities that feed on the life force of civilizations. Only by working together can we hope to preserve the light of consciousness in a dark universe." The meeting ended with an invitation. Representatives from the Galactic Federation would be welcome to visit Andromeda and learn about the greater collective. In return, they would share their own experiences and knowledge with the broader community of galactic civilizations. Back on the Federation capital world, President Kim So-ra convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The revelation that advanced civilizations existed throughout the universe changed everything they thought they knew about their place in creation. "We have a choice to make," she told the assembled representatives. "We can remain isolated in our own galaxy, or we can take the next step towards something greater than any of us could achieve alone." The vote was unanimous. Humanity had taught the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that diversity was more valuable than uniformity, and that freedom was worth fighting for. Now they would carry those lessons to the stars beyond their own. Admiral Park Jin-woo, now aged and gray but still sharp as ever, stood on the observation deck of the new flagship Unity. The massive vessel was a perfect symbol of what the Federation had achieved, designed by Dulac engineers, powered by hybrid human-dominion technology, crewed by representatives of dozen different species, and commanded by officers who had learned that their differences made them stronger. Through the viewport, he could see the combined fleets of the Galactic Federation preparing for their greatest journey yet. Hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds all working together toward a common goal. It was everything humanity had dreamed of when they first reached for the stars. "Admiral," called Captain Kim Dae-ho, now commanding the Unity after decades of distinguished service, "the long-range scouts are reporting successful contact with collective representatives at the edge of intergalactic space. We're cleared for the journey to Andromeda." Park smiled, remembering the young explorer who had made first contact with the Dominion all those years ago. Kim had grown into one of the finest officers in the Federation fleet, respected by every species for his wisdom and courage. "Give the order, Captain," Park said. "All ships begin the jump to intergalactic space." The stars outside the viewport began to shift and bend as the artificial wormhole generators activated. Space itself twisted into impossible shapes, creating a tunnel through dimensions that would carry them across the void between galaxies. As the Unity entered the wormhole, followed by the rest of the Federation fleet, Park thought about how far they had all come. Humanity had left their home galaxy as explorers and found an empire that needed to be stopped. They had ended a 3,000-year tyranny not through conquest but through cooperation. Admiral Park Jin-woo studied the star charts in his ready room aboard the UES Prometheus. The distress signal had been detected 3 hours ago, and something about it felt wrong. In his 30 years of military service, he had learned to trust his instincts, and right now they were screaming danger. "Captain Lee," he called to his communications officer, "run another analysis on that distress signal. Check for any irregularities in the transmission pattern." Captain Lee So-Young's fingers danced across her control panel. She was one of the best signals intelligence officers in the human Navy, and her cybernetic implants helped her process data faster than any normal person could manage. "Sir," she said after a few minutes, "the signal is definitely artificial. The damage patterns described don't match any known science vessel design, and the energy signatures are wrong for a real emergency." Park nodded grimly. "It's a trap. The question is, how big a trap?" Through his viewport, he could see the other ships of Task Force Alpha hanging in space around them. 11 other vessels, each representing the best of human military technology. Destroyers like Captain Choi Min-ho's Swift Strike, cruisers like Captain Kang Yoon-ji's Thunder's Edge, and the massive dreadnought Retribution under Captain Yoon Jae-sung's command. "Admiral," came the voice of Commander Kim Min-seo from the tactical station. "Long-range sensors are detecting some interesting energy patterns near the Magellan Nebula. Whatever's waiting for us there, it's big." Park activated the fleet communications channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Park. We're looking at a probable trap situation. Full stealth protocols, maximum dispersal pattern. We go in ready for anything." The human ships seemed to vanish as their advanced cloaking systems activated. Unlike the simple light-bending technology most species used, human stealth incorporated quantum manipulation that made their vessels invisible to almost every form of detection. As they approached the nebula, the true scope of the trap became clear. Captain Lee's enhanced sensors penetrated the cosmic interference and revealed what was hidden inside. "Mother of Earth," she whispered. "Admiral, there are over 300 ships in there. Dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, everything the Dominion has." Park felt a cold smile cross his face. The enemy had expected to catch a single human ship, maybe 2 or 3 at most. Instead, they would face the full might of Task Force Alpha, 12 vessels that represented humanity's finest military engineering. "All ships, maintain stealth and take positions," he ordered. "We'll show them what happens when you try to ambush humans." The battle began when Captain Yoon Jae-sung's destroyer Defiant deliberately broke stealth near the fake distress signal. Immediately, the space around them lit up with weapons fire as dozens of Dominion ships revealed their positions. "Now," Park commanded. 11 human ships decloaked simultaneously, appearing throughout the Dominion formation like ghosts materializing from the void. The enemy had positioned themselves to surround a single target, but now they found human ships in every direction, already inside their defensive perimeter. The Thunder's Edge, under Captain Kang Yoon-ji's expert command, launched the first real attack. Her ship's missile pods opened and released a swarm of intelligent projectiles that split apart as they flew, each missile dividing into multiple smaller warheads that could think and adapt on their own. The Dominion point defense systems tried to track the incoming threats, but human weapons were designed to learn and evolve during combat. Each missile that was destroyed sent information to the others, teaching them how to avoid the enemy's defensive fire. Captain Choi Min-ho's Swift Strike attacked from a completely different angle, its main guns firing solid projectiles at incredible speed. But these weren't simple metal slugs like the Dominion expected. Human kinetic weapons used programmable matter that could change its properties during flight, shifting from armor-piercing to explosive to electromagnetic pulse depending on the target. The massive Dominion dreadnought Divine Retribution turned its enormous guns toward the Prometheus. But Admiral Park was ready. His ship's quantum maneuvering system allowed it to move in ways that seemed to violate physics, appearing to be in 3 different places at once as it dodged the incoming fire. "Captain Lee," Park called, "jam their communications. I want them confused and unable to coordinate." Lee's cybernetic implants interfaced directly with the ship's electronic warfare systems. Human communication technology used quantum entanglement that couldn't be blocked or intercepted, but they had learned to disrupt more primitive systems with devastating effectiveness. Suddenly, the Dominion fleet found itself fighting in silence. Ships that had worked together for decades could no longer communicate with each other. Their carefully planned formation fell apart as individual captains tried to make sense of a battle unlike anything they had ever experienced. Admiral Zorthak, commanding the Divine Retribution, watched in horror as his superior numbers meant nothing. Human ships moved with impossible coordination, their captains seeming to read each other's minds as they executed complex maneuvers without any visible communication. The truth was that human naval officers trained together from childhood, learning to work as a single mind distributed across multiple ships. Their quantum-linked implants allowed them to share thoughts and intentions instantly, creating a level of teamwork that no other species had ever achieved. Captain Yoon Jae-sung's Defiant found itself surrounded by 5 Dominion cruisers. Any other ship would have been destroyed in seconds, but human vessels were built to survive. The Defiant's shields didn't just block energy, they absorbed it, storing the power from enemy weapons to strengthen their own defenses. All ships, focus fire on the planet killer, Admiral Park ordered. The Divine Retribution was the most dangerous enemy vessel, armed with weapons that could destroy entire worlds. 12 human ships turned their attention to the massive dreadnought. Their combined firepower was incredible, but the Divine Retribution was protected by shields that had never been penetrated in 3,000 years of warfare. Captain Lee had an idea. "Admiral, what if we don't try to break through their shields? What if we go around them instead?" She activated the ship's phase shift weapons, technology that human scientists had developed by studying the quantum nature of reality itself. The weapons fired energy that existed in a slightly different dimension, passing through normal matter like it wasn't there. The phase-shifted beams struck the Divine Retribution's hull directly, bypassing its powerful shields completely. Secondary explosions ripped through the massive ship as its own stored energy was turned against it, but the victory came at a cost. While the other human ships were focused on the Divine Retribution, Captain Yoon Jae-sung's Defiant was overwhelmed by enemy fire. The smaller ship's shields finally failed, and plasma torpedoes tore through its hull. "Defiant is gone," reported Captain Choi with grief in his voice. No survivors. The loss of their comrade filled the human crews with cold anger. Captain Yoon had been a good man and a skilled officer. His death would not be forgotten or forgiven. The battle turned into a massacre after that. Human ships, no longer holding back, unleashed the full fury of their advanced technology. Dominion vessels that had conquered hundreds of worlds were torn apart by weapons they couldn't understand or defend against. In less than 2 hours, the grand fleet of the Galactic Dominion was destroyed. Of 300 ships, only a dozen escaped to carry news of the defeat back to Hegemonia Prime. Admiral Park stood on his bridge, looking out at the wreckage floating in space. The victory felt hollow because of the price they had paid, but it had served an important purpose. The galaxy now knew that humanity could not be intimidated or destroyed by superior numbers. "Open a channel on all Dominion frequencies," he ordered. His image appeared on screens throughout the enemy empire. A tall, stern man in a simple blue uniform, his dark eyes filled with determination. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began. "We are humanity, children of Earth. We crossed the void between galaxies to explore and learn, not to conquer. We offered peace to your empire, but your leaders chose war instead." He paused, letting his words sink into the billions of beings watching across Dominion space. "We have no desire to rule over others, but we will not stand by while innocent people suffer under tyranny. This war ends when your empire ends its oppression of other species. Choose quickly, because our patience is not unlimited." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy to wonder what would happen next. For the first time in 3 millennia, the Galactic Dominion faced an enemy it could not defeat, and the balance of power was shifting in ways no one could predict. Emperor Vextar stared at the reports scattered across his crystal desk, each one bringing worse news than the last. The Grand Fleet was gone. Admiral Zorthak was dead. 300 of the Empire's finest warships had been destroyed by 12 human vessels. The impossible had become reality, and the foundation of his power was cracking. "My Emperor," Chief Science Officer Luxmarin said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach. These humans have demonstrated technology far beyond our current capabilities. Continued military action may not be wise." Vextar's yellow eyes blazed with fury. "You suggest we surrender to these aliens? That the great Galactic Dominion should bow before a handful of primitive explorers? Not surrender, my lord, negotiation. They've stated they want to end oppression, not conquest. If we could find a diplomatic solution." The Emperor's fist slammed down on his desk, shattering the crystal surface. There will be no negotiation. If conventional weapons cannot defeat them, we will use other methods. Activate the bioweapon protocols. Release the planet crackers from their storage vaults. We will show these humans what true power looks like. Luxmarin felt sick. The bioweapons had been banned for 2,000 years after they nearly wiped out all life in the Outer Rim. The planet crackers were even worse. Massive bombs that could destroy entire worlds. Using such weapons would mark the Dominion as monsters in the eyes of any civilized species. While the Emperor planned his desperate revenge, humanity was already moving to the next phase of their campaign. Task Force Alpha had grown to include 30 ships as reinforcements arrived from human space. But their real strength came from an unexpected source, the enslaved species of the Dominion itself. Colonel Song Hana stood in the command center of the liberated world of Kef Prime, studying tactical displays that showed the positions of Dominion occupation forces throughout the system. Beside her, Major Lim Wu-jin coordinated with local resistance fighters who had been waiting generations for this moment. The Dulac resistance has provided excellent intelligence, Lim reported. They know the location of every weapons depot, every command center, every weak point in the Dominion defenses. Song nodded, watching as her human ground forces worked alongside newly freed alien soldiers. The Dulac might be short and stocky, but they were incredibly strong and brave. The Kamari were small and quick, perfect for reconnaissance and sabotage missions. Together with human tactical expertise, they made an unstoppable combination. Major, begin the assault on the orbital platforms, she ordered. Remember, we're here to liberate, not destroy. Minimum civilian casualties. The attack was a perfect example of human military doctrine. Instead of the massive bombardments that the Dominion used, human forces struck with surgical precision. They disabled enemy weapons without destroying infrastructure, captured enemy soldiers instead of killing them when possible, and protected civilian populations even when it made the mission more difficult. Dr. Nam Subin worked day and night in her laboratory on the research ship Discovery, studying captured Dominion technology alongside freed alien scientists. The cooperation between species was producing remarkable results. Engineer Ko, she called to her partner, look at this biomechanical power system. If we combine it with our quantum batteries, we could create energy sources more efficient than anything either of our civilizations has built alone. Engineer Ko Tai-hyun studied the alien technology with fascination. Human engineering emphasized adaptability and modularity, systems that could be modified and improved quickly. Dominion technology focused on biological integration and long-term stability. Together, they were creating hybrid systems that surpassed both approaches. Dr. Nam, what if we took this further? The Dulac have incredible knowledge of mineral extraction and processing. The Kamari understand communication networks better than anyone. We're not just fighting a war. We're building the foundation of a new civilization. Back on Hegemonia Prime, cracks were appearing in the Dominion leadership. Admiral Quodesh, one of the few survivors of the Grand Fleet massacre, had returned with disturbing questions about the war. Science Officer Luxmarin, he said quietly, meeting in a secure chamber far from the Emperor's ears. I've seen human warfare firsthand. They could have destroyed our entire fleet in minutes, but they held back. They tried to minimize casualties even among our forces. Luxmarin nodded thoughtfully. I've been studying their public transmissions. Their leaders speak of liberation, not conquest. They protect civilians even when it puts their own soldiers at risk. This is not the behavior of a species seeking to build an empire. Then what do they want? Quodesh asked. I think they want exactly what they said, an end to oppression. They've seen what our empire does to other species and they cannot accept it. The two officers looked at each other, understanding passing between them without words. For the first time in their lives, they were questioning whether the Dominion was truly righteous. These doubts led to secret communications with the humans. Ambassador Han Mi-young aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony received encrypted messages from Dominion officers who wanted to discuss peace terms. Admiral Park, she reported, we're receiving contact from elements within the Dominion military. Some of them want to negotiate an end to this conflict. Park studied the intelligence reports from his flagship. Human forces were winning every engagement, but each victory came at a cost. More importantly, They were running out of time. Intelligence suggested that Emperor Vextar was preparing to use weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Ambassador Han, open a secure channel with these Dominion officers. If there are reasonable people in their leadership, we need to work with them before their emperor does something that forces us to destroy their entire civilization. The secret negotiations revealed the depth of the crisis within the Dominion. Many officers were horrified by the emperor's plans to use bioweapons and planet crackers. Some were beginning to understand that humanity offered something their empire had never known: the possibility of cooperation between equals. Meanwhile, human fleets continued their advance toward the heart of Dominion space. They had learned that the fastest way to end the war was to present Vextar with a choice: surrender or watch his empire collapse around him. The siege of Hegemonia Prime began not with an attack, but with a blockade. Human ships positioned themselves around the capital system, cutting off supply lines and communications. Instead of bombarding the planet, they broadcast the truth about Dominion history to the population below. For 3,000 years, the citizens of Hegemonia Prime had been told that their empire was glorious and righteous. Now they learned about the slave worlds, the oppression, the countless species that had been conquered and destroyed. The revelation shattered the foundation of their society. Emperor Vextar watched from his throne room as riots broke out in the streets below. His own people were turning against him, inspired by human promises of freedom and equality. The crystal spires of his capital city were burning, and he knew that his reign was ending. In desperation, he activated the ancient doomsday weapon hidden in the planet's core, a device left behind by the original builders of the Dominion, designed to destroy the entire solar system rather than allow it to fall to enemies. The weapon began to charge, drawing power from the planet's molten core. In 6 hours, it would release enough energy to turn the star into a supernova, killing everyone in the system but denying victory to the humans. Admiral Quodesh and Science Officer Luxmarin detected the activation in the palace's deep levels. They knew they had minutes to act before the weapon reached the point of no return. "Contact the humans," Quodesh ordered. "Tell them what Vextar is doing. If they can help us stop this, we might save billions of lives." The message reached Admiral Park just as his sensors detected the massive energy buildup in the planet's core. Human technology could protect his fleet from the explosion, but the Dominion homeworld and all its people would die. "All ships, prepare for emergency insertion," he commanded. "We're going down there to stop this madness before it's too late." The final phase of the war was about to begin, and the fate of an entire civilization hung in the balance. The news hit Hegemonia Prime like a bomb. In the Great Crystal Palace that had stood for 3 millennia, Emperor Vextar read the report from Commander Yulneth 3 times before he could believe it. His pale hands crushed the data tablet as rage filled his ancient heart. "Impossible," he hissed to the empty throne room. "Nothing defeats Dominion ships, nothing." But the tactical recordings didn't lie. The sensors had captured everything: the human vessel's impossible speed, its devastating weapons, and worst of all, its easy victory over one of the Empire's finest warships. Grand Admiral Kethvar stood before the throne, his gray face pale with shock. "My Emperor," Kethvar said carefully, "we must consider that this might be some kind of trick. Perhaps Commander Yulneth was testing new weapons and something went wrong." Vextar's yellow eyes blazed with fury. "You think I'm a fool, Admiral? I've watched those recordings. That ship, those weapons, that technology, none of it matches anything in our databases. Where did these humans come from?" The question hung in the air like poison. For 3,000 years, the Dominion had been the only advanced civilization in the galaxy. They had explored every system, conquered every world worth taking, and enslaved every species they found. The idea that another spacefaring race existed somewhere beyond their borders was terrifying. "Send for intelligence officers Veltara and Mokris," the Emperor commanded. "I want to know everything about these humans, where they came from, how many ships they have, and what they want." The 2 intelligence officers arrived within hours. Veltara was a tall, thin Vextari with cybernetic implants that helped her process vast amounts of data. Mokris was shorter and broader, his natural ability to read body language and voice patterns making him perfect for interrogation work. "My Emperor," Veltara began, connecting her implants to the palace computer system. "We've searched every database, every historical record, every piece of ancient text in the Imperial archives. The word human appears nowhere in our records. However, Makris added, we did find some interesting references in the oldest texts. Several mention a third spiral arm beyond the known galaxy, a region we've always assumed was empty space and dead stars. Emperor Vextar leaned forward on his throne. Are you telling me that an entire civilization has been developing in secret while we conquered our galaxy? It's possible, my lord, Veltara replied. The stellar cartography is complex, but if life evolved in the outer spiral arms, they might have developed completely independently from us. Their technology suggests a very different evolutionary path. This was the worst possible news. The Dominion's power came from being the only advanced species in known space. Every other race they had encountered was primitive, easy to conquer and control. But these humans had technology that seemed specifically designed to counter Dominion defenses. My Emperor, Grand Admiral Kethvar interrupted, perhaps we should consider diplomatic contact. If these humans are truly advanced, war might not be wise. The suggestion made Vextar laugh, but it was not a pleasant sound. Diplomacy? Admiral, we are the Galactic Dominion. We do not negotiate with inferiors. These humans may have surprised us once, but they won't do it again. The Emperor stood from his throne, his tall form casting long shadows across the crystal floor. Summon the War Council. Every fleet admiral, every sector commander, every military leader in the Empire. We will show these humans what happens when someone challenges the Dominion. Within days, the greatest military minds of the Empire gathered in the war room beneath the palace. Holographic star charts filled the air, showing Dominion territory stretching across most of the galaxy. The assembled officers studied the few facts they had about humanity's technology and capabilities. Chief Science Officer Lux Marin, one of the oldest and wisest Vextari in the Empire, spoke first. My Emperor, I must advise caution. The tactical analysis of their weapons is deeply troubling. Their kinetic projectiles penetrated our shields with ease, suggesting they understand our defensive technology better than we do. Their point defense systems, added Fleet Admiral Zorthak, tracked and destroyed every plasma torpedo with perfect accuracy. Either they have incredibly advanced computers, or they've fought enemies who use similar weapons. This last comment made everyone in the room uncomfortable. The implication was clear. If humans had experience fighting plasma-based weapons, they had probably encountered and defeated other advanced civilizations. Despite the warnings, Emperor Vextar's decision was final. I don't care how advanced they think they are. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years, and we will continue to rule it for 3,000 more. Admiral Zorthak, you will command the Grand Fleet, 300 of our finest warships, including the Divine Retribution. Admiral Zorthak bowed deeply. He was known throughout the Empire as the most ruthless and effective military commander alive. His victories against rebel worlds were legendary, and his cruelty toward enemies was matched only by his loyalty to the Emperor. My lord, Zorthak said, what are our rules of engagement? Do we capture them for study or eliminate them completely? Both, Vextar replied with a cold smile. Capture their ships and technology if possible. Interrogate their crews to learn about their civilization, but make sure they understand that challenging the Dominion means death for their entire species. Chief Science Officer Lux Marin tried one more time to change the Emperor's mind. My lord, perhaps we should try communication first. They claim to be explorers, not conquerors. If we could establish peaceful contact, silence. Vextar's voice echoed through the chamber. You forget yourself, Lux Marin. The Dominion does not make peace with equals because we have no equals. These humans will kneel before us like every other species, or they will die. Over the following weeks, the Grand Fleet assembled at the edge of Dominion space. 300 warships gathered in perfect formation, dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. At the center of the fleet floated the Divine Retribution, a massive planet killer armed with weapons that could crack worlds in half. Intelligence reports suggested that humans were interested in studying unusual stellar phenomena. Admiral Zorthak designed a clever trap using this information. His ships would position themselves around the Magellan Nebula, a region known for its strange energy readings and beautiful cosmic storms. We'll send out a fake distress signal, Zorthak explained to his officers. A damaged science vessel requesting assistance. When the humans arrive to help, we'll have them surrounded with overwhelming force. They won't escape this time. The trap was set with military precision. Ships took position throughout the nebula, Their stealth systems activated to avoid detection. The fake distress signal went out on frequencies that human ships had used before. Now all they had to do was wait. Admiral Zorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the stars and thinking about the glory that would come from defeating these mysterious humans. Soon the galaxy would see that nothing could challenge the might of the Galactic Dominion. But deep in his heart, a small voice whispered warnings that he tried to ignore. The tactical reports from Commander Yulneth's encounter showed technology unlike anything they had ever seen. What if the humans were more prepared than the Dominion expected? What if this trap became something else entirely? Zorthak pushed these doubts away. The Grand Fleet was the most powerful military force in galactic history. No single enemy, no matter how advanced, could stand against 300 Dominion warships working together. Soon, they would learn if his confidence was justified. The stars had been quiet for 3,000 years. Across the galaxy, every world knew its place under the iron rule of the Galactic Dominion. Emperor Vextar sat on his crystal throne on Hegemonia Prime, watching over billions of subjects who had never known freedom. The Dominion controlled everything. 3 species served the Empire without question. The tall gray-skinned Vextari ruled as the master race. The short, muscular Dulak worked in the deep mines digging precious metals from dead worlds. The small, quick Kimari served as messengers and servants in the great cities. This was the natural order, and it had never been challenged. Commander Yulneth piloted his massive warship through the outer rim of known space. The ship was called Eternal Subjugation, and it was one of the most powerful vessels in the Dominion fleet. Its biomechanical hull stretched for 2 miles, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. Inside, 3,000 crew members worked to maintain the ship's awesome power. Today felt like any other patrol day. Yulneth checked the star charts on his command screen. His orders were simple. Scan the empty systems near the galactic edge and report any unusual activity. For 50 years, these patrols had found nothing but dead rocks and empty space. Commander, called his sensor officer, a nervous Kimari named Piptel. I'm detecting something strange near the Kepler sector. Yulneth turned his pale yellow eyes toward the screen. Define strange, officer. Unknown energy readings, sir. Something big just appeared out of nowhere. This was impossible. Nothing existed beyond the mapped territories. The Dominion had explored every system worth exploring. Beyond their borders lay only cosmic radiation and stellar graveyards. Put it on the main viewer, Yulneth ordered. The massive screen at the front of the bridge flickered to life. What they saw made every crew member freeze in shock. A ship hung in space before them, but it looked nothing like any vessel they had ever seen. Where Dominion ships were curved and organic, this one was all sharp angles and straight lines. Where their hulls were grown from living metal, this one seemed built from some unknown material that gleamed like polished steel. The alien ship was much smaller than the Eternal Subjugation, but something about it felt dangerous. Its design spoke of a completely different way of thinking about space travel and warfare. Sir, whispered the communications officer, they're sending a transmission. Let me hear it, Yulneth said. Static filled the bridge speakers, followed by sounds unlike anything in Dominion records. The universal translator worked frantically to decode the alien language. Finally, a clear voice emerged. This is Captain Kim Dae-ho of the UES Indomitable. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions in this system. The crew looked at each other in confusion. No one had ever spoken to the Dominion with such casual authority. Ships either fled in terror or surrendered immediately when they met Imperial vessels. Yulneth activated his own transmitter. Unknown vessel. You have entered Dominion space without permission. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Surrender now, and your death will be quick. This was the standard greeting for all unauthorized ships. It had worked for 3,000 years. The response this time was different. Negative, came the calm reply from Captain Kim. We claim no territory here, but we bow to no empire. We are explorers from humanity and we mean no harm to anyone. Yulneth felt his anger rising. How dare this tiny ship refuse Imperial commands? You will surrender immediately, or we will destroy you. This is your final warning. I don't think so, the human captain replied. We've seen what your empire does to other species. If you want to fight, you'll get one. Yulneth laughed. This small vessel against the mighty Eternal Subjugation? It would be over in seconds. Weapons, target that ship. Prepare to fire. The human ship moved first. It accelerated so quickly that the Dominion sensors could barely track it. Suddenly, the Indomitable was no longer in front of them but attacking from the side. Bright flashes erupted from the human vessel. Instead of the plasma bolts or energy beams the Dominion used, these weapons fired solid projectiles at incredible speed. The kinetic rounds punched through the Eternal Subjugation's shields like they were made of paper. Alarms screamed across the bridge. "Shields down to 60%, shouted the tactical officer. How is that possible? Yulneth couldn't believe what he was seeing. Dominion shields had never failed so quickly. "Return fire. All weapons." The massive warship turned its enormous guns toward the human vessel. Dozens of plasma torpedoes launched from their tubes, streaking through space toward the tiny target. Surely nothing could survive such an attack. But the human ship danced between the incoming fire like it was moving through slow motion. Its point defense systems tracked every torpedo with perfect accuracy, destroying them long before they could reach their target. Not a single shot found its mark. The Indomitable fired again. More kinetic rounds slammed into the Dominion ship, and this time they penetrated the hull. Secondary explosions rocked the bridge as power systems failed throughout the vessel. "Sir, we've lost main weapons," the tactical officer reported. "Engine power is failing." In less than 10 minutes, the most powerful ship in the Outer Rim fleet was helpless. The Eternal Subjugation drifted in space, its lights flickering as emergency power struggled to keep basic systems running. Captain Kim's voice came over the speakers again, still calm and professional. "Commander Yulneth, your ship is disabled, but your crew is alive. We could have destroyed you completely, but we don't kill unless we have to." Yulneth stared at the human ship in shock. How did they know his name? How had they learned his language so quickly? How had such a small vessel defeated his mighty dreadnought? "Tell your empire that humanity has arrived," Captain Kim continued. "We seek neither conquest nor submission. We want to explore, to learn, and to help those who need it. But if you threaten innocent lives, if you continue to enslave other species, you'll find us again. And next time we might not be so gentle." The human ship began to glow with strange energy. Space around it started to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at. Then, in a flash of light that left spots in everyone's eyes, the Indomitable vanished. Yulneth sat in his command chair, staring at the empty space where the human ship had been. His hand shook as he reached for the communications console. "This is Commander Yulneth to Hegemonia Prime," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We have a problem. A very big problem. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Dominion had met something it could not defeat. The age of unchallenged rule was over, and no one knew what would happen next.